Hey, hello everyone. So I'm here with the Vegan Campout founder, Jordan Martin. We're going to take your questions today. So do keep them coming in. And we're going to talk about the upcoming Vegan Campout, which is this year in Oxfordshire in the UK. We obviously want to see as many of you there as possible from across the world. It's going to be a huge event, and it's really good to be with Jordan right here today to discuss these things. So, Jordan, why should people attend the campout this year?
Well, why should vegans attend, or why should just people in general?
People in general, I mean, so you want this to be open to vegans and non-vegans, I take it, and I've seen the effects of this over the year, that it has it's helped turn people vegan and introduce people to, not that veganism is about this, but introduce people to delicious vegan food and stuff like that with the food stalls. There's obviously the activism stuff that goes on there. But yeah, why do you think people should go to the camp out this year?
Yeah, well, I guess I'll answer both then. Like, people in general, like, the honest answer is just because it's a great chilled festival. But obviously, the importance of it is that ultimately everything that connects the festival together is veganism and animal rights, and obviously we'll get to it. But that's why it's kind of like funny that people might think it's not to do with animal rights, because actually, you've been, from the first one, and a strong animal rights basis has always been kind of what ties everything together. But in just a casual sense, it's just a chilled out festival. If you drink, there's stuff to do. If you party, if you're sober, there's the yoga and there's the meditation, and it's really the only festival in the world that is like an actual festival for those that may not have been to
what's that saying? Wow, the two location camera mode was integrated seamlessly. Yeah, so we're actually together at the moment, obviously, but
but yeah, like, for those of you that have been to like camping festivals before, it really is like, in the day is about vegan talks and ways you can get more involved in the activism movement, or like, chilling out and doing yoga and meditation. But by night, it's not really that much different to like your standard music festival. There's after parties and music. And this year, for like the first year, we're essentially going to have like a mini festival within the festival that is purely for like fire shows and raves and drum and bass sets and all of that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So it really is like, such a mix of the two worlds.
Now, what is so special about the location for this year's camp out, especially given last year's one?
Yeah, well, it's special. Like, someone said this the other day in comments, like, oh, the pressure obviously worked because they've moved venue, even though that's not the reason we've moved venue. But it is special, George, because this year is genuinely the first year that we've been able to find a venue that also would have us and dates aligned and all of that, that genuinely has no non-vegan activity there at all. Like, not even, obviously there's degrees to harm anyway, but like, not even like, oh, we occasionally have like horse riding classes or something like that. Like, genuinely, all it is like this big car like exhibition center, essentially. So it couldn't be more like vegan without a vegan having its own land. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it has a cafe there that sells like dairy milk in the teas or the coffees, but aside from that, like, it is just genuinely cars. And now they want to get more involved in festivals. So that's why they were like, oh, vegan camp out, this sounds like a great thing to like bring extra people to the venue. And it's great that we're like the first festival that's like signed on their expansion program to get more festivals involved.
Now, last year, obviously, the camp out had a lot of controversy, a lot of heat, because of the fact that it was what was the name of the
Stanford Hall.
Stanford Hall, which hosts, unfortunately, animal murdering activities, so pheasant shoots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, there's a whole list of reasons why, as bad as horrible as this is, and how obviously Jordan and none of the camp out team would want to host something at a venue like that. There is a whole list of reasons you can give as to why this is ultimately an inconsistent argument, because every single place in the UK, it seems, just has something to do with carnism on its
Yeah.
grounds. And even if you go to like a veg fest or
Yeah.
something run by PETA or Mercy for Animals, it will
Yeah.
be hiring out in a building that, you know, sells the flesh or
Exactly.
the and the
But even more than
secretions of-
just selling, probably
Yeah.
hosts farmers markets and
Yeah.
livestock shows and all of that, you know.
So we want to make it clear that that is pretty much unavoidable. But this year, you know, while this place, obviously, there, like Jordan said, there are degrees of harm, and it might have like a cafe that during non-vegan event times might sell certain stuff. As far as it can get, it's as close as it can get to a vegan
Yeah.
venue. It doesn't have any of these kind of activities there, at least.
Yeah, and that's obviously not through their own principles. Probably it's more just like the nature of what they are. But it's great that like we've looked into everything they host, and like 80% is like car related stuff, but the other 20% is like just like jumble sales or like, you know. Yeah, I don't really know. I looked a few times, but yeah, nothing had anything. And I even once when we were there and we were driving around, and we're like, oh my god, this is genuinely like the first venue we've been to that doesn't have like any shooting, any hunting, any this, any that. And we were going around, and she's like, oh, so we've got some horse bars over there. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, it has horse related activities. That's probably the best we're gonna find. It wasn't until the next time I was there, I was like, oh, can you tell me a bit more about the horse-related activities you have? And she was like, horse-related activities? I was like, you said horse bars. Just like, oh, no, that's just the name of the bars. Like, there's some like thing. I was like, oh, my God, they don't even have like horse riding at the very least. So like, yeah, it's probably one of the only venues in the country that has the vegan creds that this venue has. Shout out to Chris Hines for telling me that I needed to contact them. So
yeah. So thank you for your donation, Sherry. Sherry says, question for Jordan. How do you feel about vendors that sell vegan products but are not vegan themselves? Do you support this or oppose it? And I think what he's deeper going to try and get into here is, are there vendors at the camp out who are non-vegan businesses? But tell us the story about that.
Yeah, so in general, we do have not a rule, but a principle that we like the vast majority, if not all, of our businesses to be actual vegan businesses. Now, we don't generally go kind of like questioning them. I just feel like for me, I don't want to do that. I trust people on what they say. But like, yeah, we have had a few vendors that aren't vegan when they're not at Camp Out. And honestly, the reason for that is we listen to our audience on who they want to see there. And really that only applies to our donut places. So we do have donuts and we do have Project D, and like we were only going to have them for 1 year, but then we got so many emails by people saying, oh my god, I didn't know that vegan donuts tasted this good. I've tried other places that weren't so good. I know they're not vegan, even though the majority of their range at this point, or maybe like 50-50, like Wagamama's, is vegan. But yeah, that is the genuine answer, that like really probably 95% of our vendors are, but we do have donuts and Project D come because so many people love their products. And anyway, there is an argument to be made that the more that they can see how chilled the vegan community are and the demand for their vegan donuts.
Yeah. So I
exactly,
think it's a good, I think I agree with Jordan on this. Like, while obviously most vendors there should be fully vegan businesses, only vegan products are sold on site, can I just add?
Yeah.
I think it's actually good to have a few non-vegan businesses there just selling their vegan products for that weekend, because they think, damn, you know, this stuff actually sells. People are opening up to veganism, and it might actually get them looking into veganism, and they might even start looking at the animal rights arguments for veganism and everything. And they're more than welcome while they're there as well, if they get the time to attend like the talks and stuff, right, about veganism. So it's an event that's open to everyone, and it does create new vegans.
Oh yeah, that's a big point. Like if they just wander around, which they do, because you know they're just staff.
Yeah.
The more they hear some of these talks, and like even if the company doesn't go vegan, I don't think in a million years by them coming to our event necessarily the whole business will. But you know, don't forget they're bringing non-vegan staff probably to serve their products. Yes, they're going to be wandering around and seeing the business. I know security people that have been involved with Camp Out that have like wandered around and listened to some of the talks. And again, I haven't necessarily chased up with them to see if they did go vegan, but they, at the very least, we've had chats with them and they were like, wow, we did not realize A, how big veganism was, be how amazing the food is and see like what was going on in the ethics of veganism that makes people go vegan. So it's only ever going to have a positive change. At the least, it's going to have a neutral change. I don't see any reason why it would have a negative effect.
So Atif Ullah says, how did you manage to get Romesh? Because just for anyone wondering, Romesh Ranganathan, he's a very famous UK comedian, is headlining the Vegan Camp Out this year. He's going to be doing a comedy performance on the main stage. So huge act there, a huge draw. How did you manage to get him then, Jordan?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Like Romesh has always been one of our kind of people that we want to get the most. I'm a big fan of his work, but more than anything, again, listening to our audience, Romesh has always been like maybe second most voted, like every single year. The only person that ever beat him was obviously Joaquin Phoenix. And so like, yeah, he's always been very high on our list. And we found out very quickly, like there's only so much I can say without like breaking NDAs and stuff, but like in the stuff I can say, the reality is his agent said to us, whilst he would want to do it in principle, he is so busy. Like Romesh is probably like, in terms of like the audience, he's not the biggest, but in terms of a comedian that is on TV the most, it is Romesh. Like he'll have 6 TV series going at any one time. And obviously he's married, has children. He's already super rich. He doesn't need to do anything else for the money. And so his agent said, it's not your festival. It's just the fact that he has said to us, he doesn't want to do anything more now for the next 2 years because his calendar is that full. And the reality is that we just kept upping the price until eventually, we upped the price so much to a price that we have never offered anyone.
Right.
And his agent replied to us saying, look, it's still not about the money. Like, it's just about he's so busy. And then I thought, fuck it. I don't know if I can swear.
You can swear, that's
okay,
fine.
Cool. Fuck it. We'll try one more time. And up it a little bit more. Not that I'm saying like Romesh only does things for money. The point was he didn't want to do any extra work. Like he's he's got all the money he could possibly want. He only wants to do things that like he's got the time to do. But yeah, we upped it again, and then it happened. And they said, okay, let's put it to him at this amount. So yeah, we are paying a lot to make this happen, but I'm just so proud. We've had Russell Brand speak now. The fact we're going to have Romesh perform. Like, when is that ever going to happen at any other vegan event?
Well, let's look at some more of the acts we've got this year. So let's get the flyer up on the screen now, and we can just show everyone who's.
Instagram and then...
Oh, okay, well, hold on. It'll have it on here, won't it? Right. Yeah. So just
online
line up. Yeah. So yeah, let's have a look at some of the lineup here. Present share screen. Right, hopefully everyone can see this. So we got Romesh headlining. We got the Bosch Boys. If you know of their cooking channel, definitely check them out. Sam Ryder, he's big from TikTok, right?
Yeah. So like Romesh and Sam Ryder is almost as like crazy to speak about as Romesh, because like obviously no one knew about Sam Ryder until like sometime in lockdown. Then he comes like second in Eurovision.
Yeah.
Like.
Right.
This blows people's minds when I tell them Sam Ryder is the most followed music person in the UK on TikTok, even more than Ed Sheeran.
What?
Like that's how big Sam Ryder is.
Damn. Yeah.
Like, so that's crazy that he's going to do it. Like,
well, Miss Katie's in the chat, and Miss Katie knows obviously all about TikTok because she's huge on TikTok as well, and so she will know of Sam Ryder. So another huge act there. We've got Joey Carbstrong. He's a regular speaker at the UK Vegan Camp Out, so he'll be coming back again this year. So it'll be great to see him as well. We got Patrick Baboumian, one of the strongest guys in the world, and he is vegan. So, yep, he's definitely one as well to go check out. Mobius Loop, tell us about Mobius Loop.
Yeah, Mobius Loop are like this super like spiritual hippie band who really care about veganism at the same time. They're not, the kind of vegans that you might not like. They're so, animal rights focused, but they're just super nice guys who do this as a full-time thing, just I think traveling around in their van, and people seem to love them. Like my friend Kath would always tell me about them, and it's not necessarily my kind of music, but like she influenced me to get them, and I just stumbled in. I think you were there this year, you were there in 20, was it 19? Whatever year Jamie played first.
I was there for the first time Jamie played.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah, that was it. And I just stumbled in. and everyone was like singing every word to all their songs. I was like, how did I not know about
Wow.
these guys? These Mobius Loop are like the most famous all vegan, care about vegan act in the UK, like
Right.
undeniably. So they're great.
Amazing. So we got So Vegan, Food Influence here. We've got Bob, who is a music act. John Franceschi. I'm looking forward to this one the most. Tash Peterson. I think this is my headline act for the year. I'm really looking forward to meeting Tash. So tell us about how you got Tash to the camp out.
Yeah, well, I've always known about Tash, and I've always seen her like, articles going viral and stuff. I don't know why we haven't had her before this point, but it's only really been since lockdown that she's really blew up. I think I might be wrong on that.
Yeah,
I think to the level she's at now.
Yeah, I think Tash, she was always like quite well known more amongst like the media and stuff in Australia in maybe just before 2020 and stuff. But now she's becoming very well known, but outside Australia as well for her acts of kindness and compassion for liberating animals and for her very brave disruptions and stuff. But yeah, she's going to be doing like, is it going to be a talk, a workshop? How is she going to be featuring?
I think a talk on like her life and her work. But yeah, for whatever reason, we just didn't really speak to each other. And then I think one of my friends in Australia said that she really wants to speak. So that kind of just made it easy for me to book her. Do you know what I mean? When someone wants to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, give her my email, and we got it sorted within like 30 minutes. So yeah, it's great that we finally got her on the lineup.
Yeah, can't wait to meet Tash. We've got Little London Vegan here. She's an Instagrammer. We've got Fat Gay Vegan, also very famous influencer from the Instagram vegan food scene.
You can speak. You must know Ethelwood, right?
Ethelwood, is he like a drum and bass? Yeah. So
Huge.
that's going to be good. I'm looking forward to listening to him perform. That's good. Got Juliet Gelatli, who is the founder of Viva in Bristol, which is where I'm actually based. So yeah, and then we've got other artists here. We've got
so band I was telling you about,
MDC. So tell us about MDC.
Yeah, so I'm sure for a lot of those listening, maybe hardcore punk isn't necessarily your thing, but like basically, I was just saying to George before this that a lot of veganism can be, at least modern vegan popularity, can be attributed to like the vegan punk and the straight edge vegan scene. And like MDC were one of like the first hardcore bands in like the 70s. Never made it as big as like the likes of like Bad Brains and Minor Threat and all them kind of bands.
70s. This is how far they were back. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know necessarily if they were vegan at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe just vegetarian. But still, you're seeing Chris Hines film that they were one of the first bands to still be talking about the horrors of the meat industry, even if they were only veggie at that point, because it took a few years for veganism to really become popular. But like, yeah, MDC are like one of the first bands ever to really be talking about a strong animal rights message.
And obviously, there's so much stuff going on at the camp out. You can't see everyone you want to see, because there'll be an activism workshop while your favorite music act is performing, while like a comedy act is there, or while like a yoga class is going on. There's so much going on there, guys. So when you go, you have to be kind of like selective about who you want to see and watch. But hopefully, the times are quite well aligned and stuff, and you get to see as many people as you wanted to see. Who, Jordan, are you most looking forward to actually seeing yourself? Because you can't be everywhere at once.
No.
You have to be selective about which acts you go to. Who do you want to see the most there?
Yeah, I mean, it probably will be Romesh. Like, I am a big Romesh fan. Being a big music fan, MDC will be cool to see. Even Ethelwood will be really cool to see.
Yeah.
Sam Ryder will be cool to see, because it will just be a sea of people. Like, because like just the fact Sam Ryder is on our lineup will be bringing in so many non-vegans, or at least maybe vegans that might have not wanted to go to a vegan festival in the past. So it's just going to be, in terms of like an electrifying moment, to see like that Sam Ryder crowd just filled with phones.
Yeah.
Like we've never had that really, except for maybe when Russell Brand spoke. But it is cool that like Vegan Camp Out is just becoming like another festival now. So
absolutely, and this is where you want to go, folks. So it's still up on the stream, on the screen. Vegancampout.co.uk. You can go to the tickets section if you want to get your tickets. How much are tickets this year, Jordan?
£99 now for the weekend, which I'd like to say we are still the cheapest camping festival in the whole of the UK for what we offer. So
Yeah, nice.
Which some people, you know, like, just to be fair, like some people say, like, oh, you know, we probably are the most expensive vegan event in the world, but if you're comparing it to actual camping festivals, which is what we are, we're by far the cheapest, because a lot of people don't realize, like, you know, to become a camping festival, you are talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds more for outdoor land, electric generators, tents, all the stuff that, like, you don't have to do by being an indoor event.
Yeah. And
Oh, my best friend's taught with them. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
so Stacey's been vegan for a long time, and she's has friends, I guess, in that kind of punk scene and stuff. So that's amazing. So yeah, tell us about what other like activities and stuff you can do at the camp out this year. So obviously you can go to like activism workshops and eat the good food and stuff. What kind of activities can people get involved in there?
Yeah, so aside from what you've just said, obviously, yeah, there's the yoga and meditation, which it's not just that. There's also just like fitness classes and talks about like health in general. Then for me, like, you know, I do have to say that, like, you know, and again, you were there, George, like the foundation of why Camp Out started really was from the first event, which I started because I am into festivals and I am into partying and having a good time. So like the after party element of Camp Out is like another whole element to the event. Do you know what I mean? So like basically every night we have a completely different genre. Bosch are going to be doing like a, you know, house, drum and bass, techno night. Then Josh Franceschi, the lead singer of Yumi at Six, like, again, being a big rock fan, being a big Yumi at Six fan, that's like crazy that we've got him involved. He's always been like an inspiration to me. He'll be doing like the rock metal punk night. And then for the first time this year, because it's so widely requested, we're going to have a 70s and 80s night. So,
Wow.
you know, because we do have quite an older audience and a lot of other festivals. You know, a lot of 40, 50, 60-year-olds do come. So it's great that we like get to give an after party for them.
That's one thing I want to make very clear. A lot of people don't attend Camp Out because they think, oh, it's not for them. There might not be something for me, or, you know, I might be too old for it, or, you know, it's going to be like some kind of hippie thing and people playing bongos in a field. Can I say Camp Out is anything you want it to be? There's a huge mix of people there. And you can either treat it as like a party weekend, you can treat it as a weekend to better your activism. You can treat it as like a getaway or a retreat kind of thing. You can treat it like a music festival. You can treat it like a food getaway kind of thing. Like, there's just so much stuff to do there that I always say this Camp Out is whatever you want it to be, right? It's not just one kind of...
That could be the TV advert. Camp Out, whatever you want.
It would be cheesy as hell, but it's very true. Cannot wait to attend my first Camp Out this year. That's amazing. So yeah, we're going to be very happy to see you there. I think that's my girlfriend Rachel. I assume that is actually coming in. So yeah, that's going to be lovely for you to go.
Connor Hughes' question, just because, Connor, if you haven't already been sent your ticket through Indiegogo, like, yes, 100%, we are honoring them. Like, I don't want you to think we've just forgot about that. That was like Chris Hines' thing that he did for his movie, that we like sold a few tickets at a cheaper price. So yeah, just get in contact with us or Chris. You will be sent your ticket.
Javiet here is looking forward to the 70s, 80s night. That's great. Stacey says no drum circles, please. There can be if you want a drum circle, Stacey.
Well, there is going to be that. And you know, I was saying, like, so this year we've got like the Slipshod stage, which is being organized by my friend Adam, and that's essentially going to be like a mini Boomtown with a vegan camp out. So it's going to have like light shows and fire shows and like jam circles and drum and bass sets and everything. So if you are into like the partying element, that's going to be pretty cool.
Now, tell us about some of... Do you know much about, because I know you don't super organize this bit that much because of the staff you have there now. You have got like talks about certain subjects going on there, and you're doing a talk yourself this year, which I'm really looking forward to. This is one of the most... I'm definitely more excited for this talk than any other talk.
Yeah, I'm your favorite speaker now.
This is so I'm really looking... I will get into what Jordan's talk is going to be about in a bit, but are there any talks in particular that people should note? There any other interesting subjects going on that people are bringing up, or are you not sort of overlooking that so much?
Yeah, we're kind of finalizing them times at the moment. Like, to be honest, I leave Andrew to kind of sort it out, make sure that there's like a good variety of all the different forms of activism and you know, outreach type things. He'll be sending them me over next week, so then I'll know more about that. basically we should be announcing all of the different stage times for all of the stages in about maybe 2 weeks now, so people will be able to check out everything well in advance, and write down the times of everything they want to go to. And
now, just before we come on to the subject of what your very exciting talk is going to be about, tell us about how far Camp Out has come since its inception in 2016. Tell us about the amazing growth of Camp Out from what it was then to what it is now.
Yeah, well, literally the first one that obviously I was at, George was at, and a load of like our friends that we're still friends with today we're at, literally was, like I was saying earlier, like when people joke and say Camp Out is a piss up in a field, which couldn't be further from the truth, or at least if like you say, if you don't want it to be. The first one was a fucking piss up in a field. And like and that's fine too, vegans obviously can party. Like the idea that you can't have a good time is just silly and unrealistic, and that's what the first event was. It was like I created it as an excuse for me and George, some of our other friends in the community, to get together and have a good time. And then I was like, God, we could get 50 people, we could get 100 people. And then I turned on my entrepreneurial hat, and I was like, God, I could actually turn this into and at the time, I don't even mind saying, I think I made £1,500 off that first event.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the most money that I've ever made for myself, not working for someone else. So that was such a great thing to put my promotion and organization skills to use. And then all of a sudden we had 412 tickets sold, coming from Scotland, coming from Brighton, coming from everywhere. And I was like, God, the fact that people are going to drive that far just to meet other vegans and have a laugh in a field was just crazy. And I was never going to do it again. But then when we were packing up the next day after, there were girls actually crying their eyes out in the car, being like, that was the greatest night of my life. And so it was only then that I went home and I was like, if we get 1,000 people next year, this can actually turn into a proper festival, and the rest is history.
Well, I mean, just as a customer myself, to put my own sort of perspective on this, you wouldn't believe what Camp Out was when it originally started. Now it's this huge yearly, well-known vegan festival that's promoted in the media and everything, talked about, across the country, with huge headline acts like Ramesh and Hazia. How many people are coming this year? 11,000, 12,000?
Yeah, 12 to 15.
12 to 15,000. So this is like a big UK festival now, with huge acts and stuff there. And this 2016 one, the brainchild of Jordan in 2016, I remember there was a Camp Out group photo on the final morning. It was just a few vegans in a field. We just had a Camp Out group photo. Then there was one food stall and
3-hour queues.
Yeah, 3-hour queues to the one food stall. There were some good burgers, but I don't know about the 3-hour queues. And it was just it was one of those things. It was a piss up in a field. We sat down playing guitar and stuff. Everyone kind of talked to each other. You couldn't walk 5 yards without seeing someone you already knew, kind of thing.
But it was still the first time that's ever been done in the UK.
Absolutely.
Ever.
And
that's why it was so original.
And even that was a phenomenal event, the few hundred people that were there. But now it's exploded, and now it's a real festival now with actual acts and stuff.
But I was just going to say, even with the second year, I went home and I was like, right, if we can turn this into 1,000 people, we can do this. And then I can start putting more time into it, make it a side time job type thing. But again, that took off so much by getting, at the time, the people that were really getting big in the vegan movement, Ed, Joey, James Aspey, etc. And we ended up selling 3,000 tickets for it. So even the second year blew my expectations completely out of the water.
Now, we mentioned the first ever Camp Out had one food stall. How many food stalls have we got at this one, Jordan?
53.
53 vegan food stalls, guys, at the 2023 Camp Out. So, and it's at the end of July.
If you move over a little bit,
I'll
just sit here.
Yeah. So end of July. Really make sure you do go, especially if you're a foodie, because you're gonna love that. You're not even gonna be able to fit them all in. But there's gonna be 53 food vendors there, so your stomach will explode by the end of the weekend. Tell us, what do you like eating, Jordan? What's your when you're at Camp Out, what do you like to eat?
Yeah, I mean, I'm such a bad person to ask for that, because genuinely I'm always so busy at Camp Out that I probably eat less than anyone there, which is bad, I know. but I have to get people to bring me food.
But he's so stressed, can I say, in the build up to camp out, that when you're stressed, your stomach is just like, oh, like
yeah, you don't think about food that much anyway. But back in the day, like when I could still walk around and enjoy it, like all my favorite food vendors are still the same people they've always been. What the Pitta, Happy Mackie, Chickenish is great. But then even like just healthier stuff, like some of the Jamaican places, we've had Jam Delish.
Got Jam Delish there this year as well? Or?
No, Jam Delish aren't there this year. But Eat of Eden are, and a few newer Jamaican places that are doing it this year. But yeah, that's also some of my favorite food, just like super good Jamaican food, which I think should at least technically be vegan anyway because of the whole ITIL.
The ITIL movement, the selection is huge, guys. So you've got, your Asian food, you've got Caribbean stuff, you've got, the kind of healthier stuff. You've got like the vegan fried chicken kind of stuff and burgers. Like there's so much variety.
Donuts, ice cream, churros, sweet shops, fucking everything.
So let's get on now to the talk you're doing this year, because I'm really excited for this talk, because this is kind of groundbreaking, because I don't think you'd have been able to do this talk a few years ago. So what is your talk going to be about this year?
Yeah, so I keep considering dropping out, but I'm not. Like I can say I'm not. It's only because of how busy I am. But I feel duty bound to do it as the owner of the festival, to give a talk about like the history of Camp Out from like a political and cancel culture type lens and what I have been through personally, because I think it really is an interesting story. Like a lot of people don't necessarily know everything that's gone on. And so, like I say, I feel I'm duty bound to really tell people what's gone on, but my opinions on how I feel the vegan scene, but even outside of the vegan scene, how we can just get along more in general and put our personal differences aside, both for like being activists, but also just to be in a cohesive, is that the word? Cohesive society, like to just get along more in general. Like I really see what has happened to me are the very things that people shouldn't do in order to be able to have a more peaceful and well-functioning society.
Because cancel culture inside the animal rights movement has been pretty wild, to the extent, and this is not an excuse, guys, but I'm seeing a lot of activists drop out of activism because they're getting cancelled for stuff like their political views. It could be their views on like, gender stuff, or their views on COVID or racial stuff. And there's been so much crap going on over the years, and people
you probably get cancelled these days just for saying you support the police. Like it's become crazy.
Yeah. Even just saying something like that. But so are you gonna because obviously it's quite a controversial thing for you to do, to step up there, especially as the founder of this business, to step out there and talk about these controversial issues. What sort of things are you going to be talking about when you're on that stage that maybe you would think, damn, I probably couldn't have mentioned that a while back?
So I'm going to speak about how originally when Camp Out first started to gain traction, I would start being called a racist and an Islamophobe, and then even crazier terms like a Nazi or a white supremacist, just for the fact that I'm an ex-Muslim that used to speak about, like I haven't spoken about
Pakistani British ex-Muslim, the white supremacist Islamophobe.
But what's funny is I didn't really even speak about like Islamic, text and scriptures. I would only speak about Islamic like oppression when it comes to like sexism or homophobia, things that are seen as very progressive.
So you're literally, if anything, you're speaking about Islam from an anti-oppression framework, and you're getting called a white supremacist.
That's what's funny. I never said anything like, I do have views, but I never said anything about Muhammad. I never said anything about the Quran. I would only speak about Islamic attitudes when it comes to like the LGBT community and women and all the topics that the left and men care about. And that's what made it so funny that white leftists were calling me a left-leaning, traditionally at least left-leaning, brown Pakistani ex-Muslim who's agreeing with them that homophobia and sexism sucks. Like it was just the funniest thing. It certainly wasn't funny at the time, but that's something I want to talk to people about. But I do feel like people have become like less sensitive when it comes to that now. Like I think you can say, doesn't sexism and homophobia within Islam suck? and you're not going to have the people from 2016 being like,
Yeah.
Nazi, Islamophobe, like.
Yeah. And we were kind of wondering earlier, weren't we, what had happened to all those people? Like, why is it safer now for you to get on stage, Jordan, and talk about these controversial socio-political stuff and cancel culture when you couldn't have done that a few years ago? Where have these people gone? Why are they kind of quiet right now?
Yeah, so I was saying, this is my theory, and I do think I do pay a lot of attention to this, but I'm not saying I'm 100% right. But a lot of the intersectional vegans, the far left vegans, well, a lot, for one, just stop being vegan. That is a point. But even if they didn't stop being vegan, they kind of fell out with the vegan scene because they saw it so racist, so sexist, so homophobic, which it's never been and never will be. They essentially just quit veganism altogether, and so I don't think that they're paying as much attention to you and the likes of me. But also, for those that are still around, or those indeed that have joined veganism within the last few years and are very left-wing themselves, I do believe after the whole George Floyd thing happened, there was such a mantra that brown and black people should always be listened to, no matter what their opinions are, and that white people and essentially need to, like, be silent and shut the fuck up type thing. That it's actually meant that people like me and I'm not taking any credit for this. I give a lot of the credit to Africa Brooks or Brooke, but brown and black people that don't agree with identity politics, victimhood, or just far left ideals, we now can actually say things and not be cancelled by white people, because it's almost, and I don't think this is a good thing, but they feel so scared now that like, I should not be allowed to have any opinion. I must listen to only brown and black voices. But that's good, because it now means that they're listening to us, and we're saying, you don't need to hate yourself because you're white. You don't need to like owe anyone anything because you're white. You don't need to, and you shouldn't only listen to us. You should listen to everyone.
Yeah, everyone's voice is valid.
Exactly.
And you can be a friend of mine if you do vote this way. I might be this color, but I do vote this way. That's seen as this white way of voting, whatever. So I think the fact that many ethnic minorities such as yourself have spoken out against woke culture, against cancel culture, I actually think that it's massively helped turn the tide, right? Because people, there was this echo chamber culture in previous years. I'm going to call it scientific racism. It's the kind of stuff the KKK always promoted. The idea that if we're a certain race, we think in a certain way. Oh, well, George is white, so he has this white socio-political view. Jordan, I'm sure he votes exactly this way, and I'm sure he gets offended by this exact thing, and I'm sure he has this exact opinion on this because he's brown and blah, blah, blah. And then you sort of come out and say, well, no, actually, we're not a monolith. Everyone's different. And it helps turn the tide, right?
And I think people are noticing that so much, like, not necessarily to get onto this topic, but a lot of the people that I see, and again, I just want to make very clear, because unfortunately you have to, like, I'm all for trans rights. I'm all for treating everyone with respect, always will be. But a lot of the people that are speaking against maybe some of the stuff that people have more of a problem with when it comes to sports or when it comes to young children, a lot of these voices I'm seeing are like black YouTubers. So I think people are realizing that, like, it doesn't mean that if you're black or if you're brown, you're on board with every issue that the left want to claim.
Right, because there was always these big, we saw this a lot in the vegan community, these big box ticking exercises where it's like you have to have this exact view on everything or you're not one of us. And now that people of all these different identities have kind of smashed that identity politics narrative, I think that's helped the turnaround. We just got another question here from Sherry. He says, question for Jordan: how do you feel about the lack of activists? I guess that's in general, maybe the dropout rate. They attend the camp out, but do not want to get involved with being a voice. So that's vegans who go to the camp out, but there's lots of vegans at the camp out, which is great, but there's not enough activists. How do we address this, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, just to say, how do I personally feel? Obviously, to address it, there can be a whole number of things we can do to try and get people more engaged. But how do I personally feel? Like, I don't really lose sleep over the fact that they're not all going to the activism talks. Like, obviously, if I could press a button, that would be great. But I tend to see it from the positive point that we are the only festival in the world that we've got thousands of, like, plant-based kind of vegans plus non-vegans that are coming. And to be honest, I do see it that if 10 to 20% of them are going and checking out the talks, I think that's a great thing. Like, do I want more of them to check out the talks? Obviously, but I don't see it from a like, oh, only 10 to 20% are going to them, because I think it's great the amount of people that have gone to camp out accidentally with their friend, or they've just gone vegan, so they want to go and see Ramesh or try some great vegan food, and they come away saying like, now I understand why I'm vegan.
Yeah.
They want to start speaking about it more with their friends. I know entire activist groups that have been set up as a result of going to camp out, like entire chapters of, whether it's like, stuff you do, or back in the day with Anonymous for the Voiceless, or like, kind of standalone type activist groups. Like, so many of these chapters have been set up by your more kind of chilled, plant-based type vegans coming to camp out, who have like really gone away with something. So
yeah, because I want to reiterate here, Camp Out is not a cupcake event. It's got some great. You can want, if you want it to be a cupcake event, it can be. You can go and have some delicious vegan cupcakes, but it actually creates new activists every year. I know 2 vegans in my own We the Free group in Bristol and Bath, who went vegan, and not only went vegan, who literally became animal liberation activists because of the Camp Out. Yeah,
you might have told me that.
Yeah. So they watched the Dominion screening there. Have we got any documentary screenings at this year's one?
Yeah, we have. I don't know which ones are confirmed and which ones aren't, so I don't want to say. But yeah, there's I think there's some interesting ones being shown. There might even be one that's never been shown before, like a premiere. So, but yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Miss Katie says, who will be speaking about Vistopia and vegan phobia? 2 very important issues there. So Vistopia, well, Claire Mann is not going to be there. So unfortunately not. Miss Katie, we'd love to see you at the camp out if you want to come. But yeah, if you can't make it this year, then hopefully we can see you at another one. But do we have anyone speaking about these important issues at this year's one?
Well, I never want to act like I know about subjects that I don't know. Is Vistopia kind of the idea of like not living in a vegan world, and the depression from not being in a vegan world? Is that right?
So it's a term coined by the psychologist Claire Mann. It means the anguish of living in a non-vegan world. So anyone focusing on that subject this year?
Again, I can't, certainly no one maybe on the main stage. I don't know, if Tash Peterson or someone would touch on that, but it really is the activism stage that talks about all the kind of deeper activism, philosophical kind of points of view. So, which don't always necessarily agree with each other. As you know, like there's plenty of takes on these things. And when it comes to, as me and you have spoke about deontology and utilitarian, like there's so many different, like, frameworks. So yeah, I don't know if anyone's going to be speaking about that. Vegan phobia, is that just people that have an issue with vegans?
Yeah, so Ronnie says, can someone define vegan phobia for me, please? Now, that vegan teacher talks about that a lot. Vegan phobia would mean hatred of and discrimination against vegans. So I don't know if
I mean, I imagine activists generally touch on that subject, but yeah, I can't say a specific speaker is going to be doing a talk just on them things, but I'm sure they'll be covered.
Miss Katie, if you want to do a talk one year, you've got to overcome your fear of speaking. I know Miss Katie, she said to me personally, she would love to do some kind of speech. She's actually a bit, maybe I'm not allowed to say this, Miss Katie, but you're actually a bit shy, aren't you? Even despite your big presence on social media and stuff, Miss Katie does have a bit of a fear of public speaking, maybe. So, Miss Katie,
I mean, it's a very different thing. Even her videos that have got millions of views, she only has to record that once and then put it out. But to like talk in front of thousands of people, I imagine would be. I'm terrified of doing my talk. But
it's a daunting thing.
Yeah,
it's a really daunting thing. People think this about me as well. People think when I do speeches or marches or whatever that I, because they assume I'm such a confident person because of my online presence, but it is nerve-wracking going up in front of a load of people in real life and reading something, especially if you haven't got the script or something. Are you going to be reading from a sheet for your talk? Or right, let's see. Joe says, let's read this one. Fat Vegan Liberator. I just wanted to say that I can't be at the festival due to financial difficulties. We're sorry to hear that, but I do want to say I really hope it goes well. Yeah.
Well, I do want to just say, like, obviously I don't want to put like a idea out and for people to abuse it, but ultimately if you genuinely can't afford it nearer the time, then, you know, I can't just give you a free ticket. Otherwise, everyone would ask for one. But, you know, do message me. And if there's a way we can help with some kind of discount just to get you there, like ultimately we'd rather you be at the festival, as you say. If you do actually want to be there, then not be there. So
well, there we are, Jordan, the evil money grabbing capitalist,
yeah.
You know, offering someone in financial struggle a way of getting to the camp out. What a cruel person you are, Jordan. In fact, let's talk about that subject. So how do you, because Camp Out, you know, let's be real, Camp Out, it's not a non-profit, it's not a charity, it's a business, like any vegan business. And I mean, I think I've answered the question there yourself, but how do you deal with all this hatred you've had over the years for being called a capitalist scumbag for profiting off veganism?
Yeah, it's weird. And, you know, like you said the other day, it does seem to be that Vegan Camp Out is put on a pedestal that no one else is put on. And if the argument is like, but you're meant to care about these things more, well, then we do. Like your vegan business, it just sells burgers, even though there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of the time, trust me, they are not owned by vegans as much as people think they are, but they're doing nothing wrong. But the difference is, yes, we're making money, but we care about the cause. All of our staff are veganism. Half of us are activists in some way or another. So it is really weird that we get this hate when we are doing more for vegan activism than most vegan businesses. Not vegan charities, I'm not claiming that, but vegan businesses, we are like, they've probably never done anything for activism. And I'm not saying like that's bad. I understand why people do think that's bad, but we don't fall into that bracket. We do so much for activism, and we raise, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds every year for vegan charities, non-profits, vegan businesses, you know, and all the rest. So it is a weird one.
You're a vegan business that is actually creating activists every year. Yeah. And even if this wasn't the case, there's still no reason to like attack a vegan business. We still support a vegan cupcake stand. We still support a vegan pizza restaurant.
We still support if Subway comes out with a new vegan product. I presume you do.
Yeah, I buy vegan products from non-vegan companies. But even those people who don't, you know, and that's fine. If you do have the opinion that I only eat at vegan establishments and blah, blah, blah.
Well, this is a vegan establishment.
This is, and I don't get why Jordan has been so singled out for criticism over this whole capitalist thing, when every vegan restaurant that cute little vegan cafe that you eat in the morning, and you say, oh, isn't this a lovely place?
Isn't it great that these people exist, like, and you can come and get a vegan breakfast? But Vegan Camp Out,
that little cute little cafe that you eat in every morning, guys who hate on Jordan for being, you know, a capitalist and profiting. That's a business. That's not a non-profit. Those people set up that cute little cafe because they wanted to make a living out of it. And Jordan has actually gone one further than this cute little cafe, and he's actually got activism workshops at this festival.
A lot of people say, like, I think I do agree with this, but I think a lot of people do think, well, I'm an activist. Why is it that I've not got to quit my job? And I do really think that jealousy within the animal rights scene, but within any scene, jealousy is obviously just a human trait. But I think that ultimately does have a big part of it. Like, they don't want to come out and say this. They want to say, oh, well, they should be doing this and they should be doing that, even though they're such unrealistic standards. But I do think genuinely, and this is sad, and I do kind of feel sorry for them, but I do genuinely think it's a personal, why does Jordan get to have his own business that's successful and have a following and people talk about this? And, you know, there's no secret. I get to, you know, I'm certainly not rich by any standards, but I get to now work for myself. I now get to go to Australia for a holiday. I now get to work abroad if I want to go on holiday. And I think that really drives a lot of people crazy.
And that's what we want. We want vegans to get out of the rat race. We want vegans to stop working at the supermarket or the office desk that they're chained to. And we want vegans to have jobs like Jordan, when you can work full time doing vegan stuff. Why wouldn't we? Can anyone think of a good argument as to why we wouldn't even want that? What were some of the other controversies that you had at last year's Camp Out? Let's talk about the whole dog thing, because we mentioned that last year on the little recording we did. But for anyone who missed that, tell people about this huge dog controversy that was last year's Camp Out.
So the same group that started the Vegan Camp Out isn't vegan because it's held at a venue that hosts non-vegan activities, which we've already gone briefly into why that was ridiculous. They were watching it at every move. Like they
Right.
were literally on Instagram refreshing hashtags, looking at every post, seeing if there was any way they could trip us up, because their attacks ultimately didn't work, and it was still a great event. And so I just don't know where it came from, but you know their names, Sasha and
Chris.
Chris.
Yeah.
They were already, because they were so desperate, they were already saying vegan campout should ban dogs from attending vegan campout, which we've never done, and we've always wanted people to bring their dogs if they want to bring them. We actually do say that we really don't feel that maybe campout is the best place for dogs, because you want to be able to enjoy yourself and go to the talks and go to the music, and therefore maybe it's not the best of
it's advised
places,
folks, that you do have a dog sitter rather than bring your dog to this year's camp out, by the way, folks, because there is a lot of there are a lot of issues perhaps with bringing animals to a festival.
And we want people genuinely to have the best time and to be able to actually like have fun, which you just you can never do if you're looking after another companion. But because they were on our move at every second, like and because it was so hot that weekend, which we didn't know, like it was only like the day before it really started to get that hot. This rumor just came out of nowhere. Joey took a photo with a dog, and he was saying that this dog that was in someone's tote bag type thing, that the dog
Benji, his name was, or Benny or Benji, the little dog,
the dog was suffering. You could tell the dog was dealing with heat stroke, which they claim is absolutely not true.
This was on the hottest weekend of the year in the UK, and I do want to say it was a very hot weekend, but what happened with this rumor was just stupid. But continue, Jordan.
It was, but it was the weekend after that technically was the hottest UK weekend. Like it only ever hit like 33 at Camp Out, which was hot.
But then it was 40 the next on the Monday, wasn't it?
No,
it was, because I remember, because I was getting my flight back from somewhere. I'd missed that camp out.
Yeah, but
it was literally 40 when I landed. I landed on the hottest day in UK history.
Yeah, I'm just saying at camp out, it didn't get to 40.
It did
to about
You're
36,
right. Yeah.
But that was only for like the last few hours of the last day. But anyway, so all of a sudden, it even became a viral thread on Reddit. Reddit was like, and then you were lapping it up, like Reddit in some dog community, which, for whatever reason, still seem to be anti-vegan for the most part. They were like, oh my God, the hypocrisy. Dog dies at vegan festival.
Yeah.
So then all the vegan camp out people jumped on this like, oh my God, this vegan camp out, Joey is responsible for this dog dying. And nothing happened to the dog. It was just a complete conspiracy.
So Benny is alive and well, everyone. Can I just make clear? He's still in the love and care of Sasha and Chris, who, a couple who you couldn't be more happy to be with if you were a dog. And this rumor, I tell you what, though, there was a silver lining to this rumor. I'm a firm believer in every cloud has a silver lining. And what this rumor that a dog died at the camp out due to, the lack of ethical concern by the festival, and how dare they, just be dragging dogs around in bags in the heat and stuff like that. What this completely falsified rumor shows is that some of these whispers you see in the vegan movement, folks, some of these little rumors you see going around are complete and utter fabrications, because you get people who try to legitimize some of these false accusations and cancel culture rumors. They'll sort of say, oh, well, if so many people are saying it, it must be true. And it's like, but thousands of people were saying this dog died at the camp out. And not only wasn't even like a half truth or a tweak on the truth. It was just a complete fabrication and a lie.
But more importantly, it happened because the cancel culture against it was so rife. So that, like I say, they were literally sitting in real time looking for anything. So had that have not happened, yes, it probably still would have gone viral in some Reddit thread, but we wouldn't be talking about this today. Vegans wouldn't know about this thing. It was vegans who were against Camp Out, who wanted there to be a story. That was probably their best day all year when that happened.
Yeah,
because they used that then to be like, see, we told you told you Camp Out didn't care, or lack of ethical concern. And like George said, it's not like there was even some truth in it. So actually it did backfire, and that group has shut up since that day. Not one thing has been said by them since then. And I think it's because the reasonable people understood that they'd been like brainwashed by these people into this
Yes.
hysteria. There has to be something wrong with Camp Out.
We see a lot of this in
Yeah.
the vegan movement, and it goes too far. And it, why I think it's the silver lining is maybe next time something like this happens, folks,
Question it.
Yeah, question it. Stop and think. Even if thousands of people are saying it, it could be complete and utter bullshit. And this was proof of that.
Amber says, "Do you want another hoodie?"
Oh no, I'm fine, thank you, Amber. Cheers. Yeah. Let's talk about travel to this year's Camp Out, because for me, I think this is the easiest one there's been to travel to, because the previous Camp Outs, they've been in quite kind of secluded, they're always in big ass fields and stuff. They've been in quite sort of secluded kind of locations, like public transport there has been quite an issue.
Yeah.
Tell us about the travel for this year's Camp Out and what makes it so special.
Yeah, well, now we are in Bicester. You can get a 45-minute direct train from London, which, for those that may not know, 50% of all the vegans in the UK live in London. So, that's such a, hotbed for veganism. So, and obviously not that far from London, you've got Bristol and Brighton, which are obviously two of the other really, you've probably got, in London, Bristol, and Brighton, 60 to 70% of all the vegans in the country, just
like
in them
triangle of veganism.
Yeah,
isn't
so
it?
like
those three.
So being so much closer to them three locations, but especially to London on a fucking direct train that you can get for £8 if you book in advance. Yeah, it's a great location.
It's so easy to, and I just want to say, once you get off at the station, I think it's actually in walking distance. You don't even need like a taxi or a minibus like there have been in previous festivals. You can actually walk to the Camp Out from Bicester train station this year.
You can also get a bus from Bicester train station to the venue.
Even though Bicester isn't in London, and UK is so small. In UK terms, it's not near London, although it is near by anyone else out of the country's standards. It's if you're flying into one, if you're coming from abroad and you're flying into one of the London airports, it's just so simple. It's basically on the doorstep. It's just a 45 to an hour train, and then boom, you can just walk there from a central London station. So it's so easy to get there this year. Miss Katie asks a good question: are there any speakers over the age of 55 at the Camp Out this year?
Yeah, I know. How do you say the name? Katie?
Yeah.
I know Katie. When either we had a talk or some comment was made, I know you were saying like, oh, there needs to be more people of that generation, so it's not just appealing to young people. There definitely will be on the activism stage. I agree, probably on the main stage, from what I can think, probably not.
But that's not to say there haven't been in the past. In fact,
I know Ronnie Lee has spoken.
Interestingly, I was just about to say that Ronnie Lee has even spoken, and he was a critic of the Camp Out last year. But and this year it seems he's changed his tune maybe after that recent live stream we did on David Ramsey's channel. Go check that out, guys, if you can. So go to David Ramsey's YouTube channel, and there's a live stream he did, me, Ronnie, Jordan, and Roger Yates. But Ronnie Lee, he's a legend of the activist scene. He's probably the founder of the ALF, the Animal Liberation Front. He's in his 60s, Miss Katie, and he did a talk one year. And maybe now that he's changed his tune, Jordan, maybe he'll be back in the future. We never know, do we?
Yeah, we'd have him back.
So that's a lovely positive note there, because we're coming towards the end of the stream. That Jordan said he'd take Roger back. So Roger, Ronnie, if you're watching, have a think about that in the future. Before we sign off, Jordan, do you have anything else that you want to say or talk about before we end the stream?
No, not really. Obviously, be great to see as many of you guys there this year that have never been. I am being serious, that genuinely, if you would love to come, but you are struggling financially, like, I would rather you be at the event than not be at. Like, this year, like, we are just adding so much to this year with like a new site, the most people we've ever had, the biggest lineup we've ever had, the biggest food lineup we've ever had, the biggest after parties we've ever had, and then this extra stage that we are building that I just want more people than any other year to come this year. So message me if you do genuinely want help to make it.
And this is, so that's a very generous offer there from Jordan. So please take that up, guys, because I know it's very hard times in the UK at the moment with the, the whole cost of living crisis. So we would love to see as many people as we can there, no matter what their financial situation is. Got this website here, vegancampouttickets.com if you want, or just go to the vegancampout.co.uk website if you want to get your tickets. Tell us about the glamping passes. Have they all been taken up this year?
Yeah, so it's crazy. We've sold like I think 160 of the glamping like TP type tents, which is crazy because like they're expensive, and again, not because we add a load of money onto them. Like I made sure they're basically the cheapest glamping prices in the UK. They just cost a lot to hire, so that's been great. But as you just saw on the ticket page, this year we actually for the first time have pre-pitched tent hire. So especially if you're coming from like another country and you can't be bothered or don't want to have to buy a tent just for a single use, we have pre-pitched, so hard word to say, pre-pitched tents to hire, which have like sleeping bags and camping mats and all the rest. And for this year we also have coach hire as well, which is on a 100% carbon neutral bus, so you're not even adding to emissions by coming, although we only have journeys right now from Bristol, London and Birmingham, I believe. So, but I'm sure they'll add extra locations in the future.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, thank you, Jordan, for doing this stream for everyone and answering the questions coming in and answering my questions. Thank you, everyone in the live chat. We will see you at the Vegan Campout UK 2023 on what date, Jordan?
July 28th to 31st, last weekend of July.
He always has to like think for a second when I say that.
Because I have to remember it every year. It's like...
All right, thank you guys, and we will see you next time. Thank you for joining the stream.